Good evening, good evening. Good evening, good evening. Good evening. For those that are tuning in, those that are coming into the live right now, I thank you so much. I thank you so much. It is Monday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that means that it is time for Be Okay, the broadcast with Rick Elliott. I'm so happy to be with you this evening as I share some more with you on the subject of love. The purpose of Be Okay is to share some common topics that everyone goes through and give some practical advice, some practical thoughts on how to deal with those topics on a day to day basis. Last week, we talked about love, and the bottom line of what we want to do is be okay. Everybody wants to be okay, right? Everybody wants to be happy. How do we get to happy? How do we get to peace is the question. That's what we're looking for. Is that place of peace. And that's what being okay is all about. I'm Rick Elliott. I am a self-proclaimed inspirationalist, and I'm here to help you be okay. All right, all right. So here we go. Here we go. Thank you for those that are tuning in, giving thumbs up. I really, really appreciate you. Here we go. So last week we talked about being okay with love. This week I want to talk to you about self-love. Self-love. And it's something that we want to learn to be okay with. Loving yourself. It is all right to love yourself. I want to tell you a story. There is a story in the Bible that I really, really love, and it's just a few lines, just a couple of paragraphs, but the story talks about the son of a king. The guy's name was Mephibosheth. Long name. He was the son of a king, and the castle, the kingdom was attacked. And in the haste, the Bible says that as the nursemaid made haste to bring him to safety, she dropped him. She dropped him, and he became lame. He became disabled. So, what I want to pose to you for a moment is the thought of being dropped, not literally, but proverbially. How many times in your life have you been dropped when you gave your love to someone? You gave your time to someone. You poured into someone. You gave what you had to someone. And somehow or other, it seems as though they dropped you. Along the way, rather than showing you love, rather than showing you kindness, rather than reciprocating to you what you were giving out to them, they dropped you. So here's something that I had to learn for myself. Many years ago, I was quite involved in church, and I worked for someone in the church community. And the problem was that this guy had been dropped. So, with the disability and the trauma that he had experienced for these years, it caused him an inability to really carry and cradle someone else. It is an unfortunate experience when you put yourself, all of yourself and your being into someone. And the truth of the matter is that sometimes people just do not have the capacity to return to you the love and the energy that you put into them. So let's talk about self-love. Love is an energy, like I talked about last week. It's a superpower. It's wonderful. Everybody loves love. Who doesn't want to be loved on and appreciated and receive accolades and be validated? All of that is great, fine, and beautiful. But at the end of the day, the only sure thing that you have is yourself. The only sure thing that you have is your temple. The only sure thing that you have is your mind. Come on. So at the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself. You direct your world in your life. You direct your journey. Where does it take you? What's going to happen? The first principle of being okay with love is to love yourself. There are people who have the phrases, if you're not going to love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else? It's true. Love is an action. It's so many things. It's so broad. But love is spoken of in action. Last week I said that I love saying the phrase, do things in love. Not romantically, but with love. So with love, I teach you how to do something that someone else taught me how to do. With love, I show kindness to you as someone else showed kindness to me. But what happens before you can give that love out is that you gotta have something for yourself on the inside. You have to have something that is able to be maximized and to grow and to metastasize into something bigger than you even knew it could be, because that's what love is. Love picks you up. Love says, I'm sorry. Love gives. So we're talking about ourselves. How do I love myself? The first step to loving yourself is to adopting practices that benefit you. Adopting practices that benefit you. That means when I wake up in the morning, I do my routine, I wash my face, I brush my hair, I brush my teeth, I put on something that's gonna make me feel good. That benefits me. That's all right. And it's okay, one of my phrases, one of my favorite phrases, it's okay to love yourself. People sometimes will diminish you and tell you that you are a selfish person because you love yourself. They will tell you that you're self-fulfilling, you're self-serving because you love yourself, and that's all right. The truth of the matter is that anyone that would tell you that is probably dealing with some self-love issues or maybe self-hatred issues of their own. Don't be deterred by that. Don't let anyone ever make you feel like there is something wrong with you loving yourself. All right? First step, loving yourself, adopting principles and practices that are going to make you first. That say, okay, yes, I want to help you. Yes, I'm going to do something for you. Yes, I'm going to support you. But before I do that, I have to make sure that I'm okay. That's what we're getting to. We're getting to the place where you can say to yourself, self, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So how do we do that? As I spoke about last week, you have to be open. I take a breath on that, and I receive that. Being open to possibilities, being open to new practices, being open to new things that say, okay, I've done this a certain way. To do things over with the do things repeatedly with the expectation of getting something differently is a definition of insanity, right? So when you are doing the same thing, making the same cycles, going in the same circles over and over, wondering why things are not coming together for you, it could just be that you're not loving yourself enough. Loving yourself says, I'm getting up today with a purpose. My first purpose is to show God, the universe, the creator, all that you are, all that is around us, surrounding us in the environment. Show gratitude. Gratitude for that waking up. That's love. Show support for the universe, that I am here as a conduit. I am here as someone who is going to bring something into this world wonderful today. All right. So we love ourselves, We have to adopt practices that make ourselves first. Being open lets you know, gives you a certain type of discernment. Discernment shows you who to love, who to give your love to. So often, we want somebody. Everybody wants somebody to love on. In most cases, we want someone there. So discernment says, okay, yeah, you want somebody in your corner, you want to have somebody around, but you can't give everyone your love because it's precious and it's valuable. Last week, I touched or spoke with someone on the talk back on Wednesday night, and I was describing it as this: your heart or your love, however you see it, is an energy that becomes clouded and surrounded by fat. What is the fat? The fat is the mess. The fat is what grows on you from people tearing you down, traumatizing you, dropping you, as I said in the beginning. And then our hearts become hard, and we're unable even to love our own selves. At the end of the day, we don't value and appreciate ourselves as much as we really could. So, love says, I'm open and I'm okay. Let's go back to this at the beginning. Who dropped you? As I stated, I was working for someone who I put my all into. I put my being into working for this person. And it was years later, not until years later, the experience and the relationship that I had with this person was one that became very traumatic because I was not being valued. But at the time, I couldn't see that. At the time, I didn't realize that I was being used. I was being manipulated. There was no love in the situation. There were glimmers of love where this person was able to give some time, give some appreciation. But what I didn't realize is that this person was so downtrodden himself that he really did not have the capacity to carry me, uphold me as maybe I desired or as that I thought he would. He couldn't love himself, and that's okay. And it wasn't my fault. In order to love yourself, you have to be able to receive love. I talked about receiving love last week. Receiving love is having the openness in your mind, the openness in your heart to say, it's okay for someone to give me that compliment, to to give something to me, to share, to spread. It's all right. It's all right. I deserve for somebody to put something in my hand sometime, drop a nugget in my mind to uplift me, to make me feel better. I deserve that. These are basic human principles of things that you should have in your life. And if you don't have it, maybe you need to address, examine, and resituate your circle. If the people around you are not making you feel valued on a consistent basis, baby, re-examine your circle. And those people around you might just be yourself. You might not be valuing yourself enough. When's the last time you gave yourself a compliment? When is the last time you told yourself, yes, I can do it. Yes, I am good enough, strong enough, smart enough, I'm moving. You got to appreciate yourself first. So here I was working for this person who did not have enough self-love to build their own thing. And here I am giving and trying to build, and I'm digging, and I'm putting away, and I'm trying to make foundations for something that didn't have nothing to do with me. There was a journey that this person was supposed to be on that they segued into something else, and it was a hateful place, all because someone dropped them at some point. Now, we all have people, whether it's a parent, an aunt, uncle, grandparent, family friend, we have people that we put our trust in, and we trust them to do right by us. We trust them to love on us and to strengthen us. But with that openness to people, remember, discernment is key. Discernment is wisdom. It will show you when and where you are to share your love. Keep some for yourself. And that's a mistake that I made. I gave all of myself, all of my everything, trying to please somebody. That's the real truth of it. I was trying to please someone on earth that had nothing to give back to me because they had been dropped. They had been hurt. They had been hurt. We have all been hurt and experienced some type of trauma in our life. So, what will you do with that hurt? How will you take up that pain? How will you extinguish and reformat that trauma so that you could say, though I went through this, I'm still able to see the bigger picture of why I went through it, of what it meant. Let's take a breath. So now, I leave you with this. As you go through your day, remember to practice self-love by feeding your soul. If it's a good meal, if it's going to the movies, going to a show, spending time with a loved one, love on yourself. Because you fill yourself back up when you just love on yourself. Then you can love somebody else. Then you can give time and energy to somebody else. Let us practice forgiving the people who dropped us. They didn't know what they were doing. That's okay. This week, as you go through the rest of this week, practice your self-love by telling yourself, I'm okay. It's going to be okay. And you can be okay with self-love. I thank you. Please join me next week. Please share, tag, like, subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you for the time that you've given in watching me this week. Good night.